Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, bright and early in the morning, a little bit of death metal with Morbid Angel, one of the most respected, legendary, and influential death metal bands ever to grace the stage. Okay, of course, they came up from the Florida underground to be one of the more popular, maybe not in terms of sales, record sales and things like that, but definitely amongst their peers, amongst the fans and critics, one of the most influential death metal acts of all time, alongside Death and Cannibal Corpse and so on and so forth. But these guys, helped spearhead the underground death metal movement, the technical death metal movement. Their early albums are, old school as it gets, but as the years have gone by, a lot of really, really strong albums, shuffling band lineups, of course, like so many bands have done, in recent memory, but, some mainstays in the band that have just kind of been very, very influential figures. So, of course, we're talking about, you got Trey Azagoth on guitars, keyboards, and things like that. Founding member, still there to this day. Amazing guitar player, often considered what many people have said over the years as the kind of like Eddie Van Halen of death metal. I don't know if I'd go that far, but definitely a great, great player, very influential player. This is the current lineup of the band. You got Steve Tucker on bass and vocals. Steve has had multiple stints in and out of Morbid Angel. Okay, Scott Fuller, kind of the new guy on drums, formerly of Annihilator. He's been in the band since 2017. And Dan Vadim Von, as second guitarist. He's also been in the band just a couple of years. But, most notable former members, David Vincent on bass and vocals. He was their frontman for many, many years. Pete Sandoval, one of the great drummers in extreme metal. Very notable guy in this band for a long, long time. Tim Young also played drums in this band for a number of years, another fantastic player. And Eric Rattan was a second guitar player for a big chunk of the middle part of their catalog, of course. He went on to even greater fame, on his own, obviously, with his own band Hate Eternal, as well as a producer. So and a whole host of other guys have been in and out of this band. But those are like the current and very notable former members of the band. So we're talking about 9 studio albums. I will say, with the exception of one of them, all the other 8 are very, very strong. I don't think, like I said, with the exception of one that I'm going to get out of the way right off the bat, I would say all the other albums are definitely worth your time. And if you are looking to get into the music of Morbid Angel, I'd say check out any of them. They're all really, really good. So let's get started here. My first 2 I don't actually have on physical copies, so I'll just kind of talk about them. So the first one is 2011's kind of a comeback album, but it was a total misfire, backfired in their face. So I'm talking about Illud Divinum Insanus from 2011. For whatever reason, it's like, all right, let's get David Vincent back in the band and let's do something a little bit different. And the guys decided to go put out an album that had all these kind of like industrial, more melodic elements, and it didn't work at all. I remember like when I was given the task of reviewing that for the website, I was thinking, great, new Morbid Angel album, Vincent's back, this is going to be awesome, and listening to it, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, it's just, A, it's unmemorable, B, it's just like, why is Morbid Angel doing kind of like industrial tinged songs with like clean vocals and just odd vocals, and like the musical passages just like don't grab you at all. It's not a very heavy album. In a catalog that's so strong, this one sticks out like a couple sore thumbs. It's not good. And, the backlash from the fans and the critics was just like, it was incredible. And before you knew it, David's gone from the band again and Steve Tucker's back in. Thankfully back in for their follow-up to this, coming up in number 8 with Kingdoms Disdained from 2017. So you got, like I said, Steve Tucker's back in. You got Scott Fuller coming in from Annihilator on drums. a great return to form. It sounds like a Morbid Angel album. I think the only kind of criticisms I heard from some folks are kind of like the production. A lot of people are down on like modern day production values, and I get all that. But I thought the songs were heavy, they're brutal, technical in spots. The Righteous Voice, Piles of Little Arms, some very, very strong tracks from that. Tucker, I always like Steve Tucker's voice. I thought his growls are perfect for this band. The two voices of the band, David Vincent and Steve Tucker, you can't go wrong with either one of them. But it just, to me, it sounded like, let's get Steve back in the band, kind of an old favorite, and it worked just fine. So good return to form for them. Coming in at number 7, Formula's Fatal to the Flesh from 1998. Ironically, and I didn't plan this, so you got the Kingdom's Disdain is the first with Steve back in the band. This is actually the first with Steve coming into the band, replacing David Vincent the first time around on bass and vocals. This is brutal and fast. All right, very, very fast album, speedy album. Some of their albums you got are more kind of slower, more grinding, doomy death metal. Others it's just like kind of like speed of light stuff with blast beats and crazy breakdowns and shredding solos and all that kind of stuff. This is more the kind of fast album for them. Prayer of Hatred, Covenant of Death, some of the very strong songs on here. Really good album. Really good album. Next up, 2003's Heretic. All right, this is the last album with Pete Sandoval on drums. Incredible drummer. Man, he's just like one of the best. Definitely one of the best. Just a human dynamo. All right. Also, Steve Tucker left after the recording of this album. You got strong tracks on here called Enshrined by Grace, Praise the Strength, Curse the Flesh. Some killer riffs throughout this album. Pretty cool album cover, too. Definitely another strong one. All right, number 5 from 1995, Domination. Another really strong album. This is the first with Eric Rutan on second guitar. Last with David Vincent for a while. So this one's got a mix of kind of slower, grinding death metal tunes with a little bit of like doomy overtones with the speedy, fast-paced blast beats and, tremolo pick riffs and all that kind of stuff. Really good production on this album. Really good production. This is a massive sounding album. It's got notable tracks: Where the Slime Live, Nothing But Fear, Dawn of the Angry, all stuff to look out for on this particular album. All right, next up, number 4, Blessed Are the Sick from 1991. Brilliant Pete Sandoval drumming on this album. This, I think if you're going to look for one album that has some of the most incredible drumming from this very talented guy, this is probably the one. You listen to this album and his drum work is it just jumps out at you, grabs you by the throat. Great stuff. You got Fall from Grace on here, the title track, Abominations. Here you got a mix of kind of like, there's a lot of tunes on this album, but you got a mix of shorter songs and interludes. So, instead of doing like these big 5, 6, 7 minute long death metal dirges, here you got like little 2 and 3 minute bursts of energy, and then these little kind of musical interludes. Trey Azogoth was big into doing that sort of thing. So, but definitely a very, 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 very solid album, easily in their top echelon of releases, I think. Number 3, we're going to go to 1993 for Covenant. Yeah, this album was a pretty decent seller for the band back in the day. It's dark and menacing. This is, all their albums are kind of dark. Death metal is pretty dark, but I think this one especially has that feel to it. It's got Pain Divine, Rapture, God of Emptiness, which has some great David Vincent growls on it. Trey's guitar work on this album is pretty damn spectacular. This is more of an album. This album in particular has a lot of guitar solos on it. So if you like his guitar playing and you want to hear some shredding, this is the album to check out, people. All right, my top 2. These are quite good. My number 2 album is 2000's Gateways to Annihilation. I love the production on this album. It's just massive sounding, bludgeoning technical death metal. Here is Eric Rutan is firmly entrenched in the band. If you listen to his band Hate Eternal at all, you can kind of imagine what's going on here. So him and Trey doing some superb dual guitar riffing and soloing. Slower tempos on this album. This is not the speed of light type of stuff. This is more, really think of kind of some of the slower and heavier Nile stuff, or some of the Hate Eternal stuff. Slower tempos, super wall of crunch guitar riffing. All right, complex passages. Summoning Redemption, Opening the Gates, Ageless Still I Am. Just a few of the classic tracks on this album, and I love that album cover. Very, very cool. So, of course, my number one, no surprise here, Altars of Madness, their debut from 1989. One of the most influential death metal albums of all time, for a reason. It's a classic. It's an absolute classic. Immortal Rites, Chapel of Ghouls, Suffocation, Maze of Torment, Visions from the Dark Side. Just absolutely killer, face-melting guitar and drums. The growls from David Vincent are just off the charts here. And this album just kind of blazes by really, really quick. But it leaves quite the mark once it's done. So, Altars of Madness, a death metal classic. If you're someone who's just getting into death metal and wanting to pick up some of the early classics of the genre, got to go right here, along with Scream Bloody Gore by Death and the first Possessed album. I think, there you have three mandatory death metal albums that you got to kind of get, the stuff from Obituary and Atheist, and all the usual suspects. But I think that this one ranks right up there, easily a top 3 death metal classic of all time. So there you have it. Coming in at number 1, Altars of Madness. Number 2, Gateways to Annihilation. Number 3, Covenant. Number 4, Blessed Are the Sick. Number 5, Domination. Number 6, Heretic. Number 7, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. Number 9, Kingdom's Disdain. And coming in at number 9, the one you can avoid, Illud Divinum Insanus. That's probably the only one out of this catalog that I would say steer clear of. And I'm sure there's going to be folks watching who will be like, I love that album. It's the best thing they ever did. But you're probably going to be in the minority if you think that, because pretty weak album, a total misfire in my book. But you know what? The rest of it, they're all gems of the death metal genre. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. So coming up, want to make sure everybody is aware tonight I'm going to be guesting on the live episode of Guitar Hack. Okay, this is a very fine YouTube channel that discusses guitars, guitar playing, guitar music. They've invited me on to talk SOT and favorite bands and guitar players and guitars and all that kind of stuff. So that's happening at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, Thursday. So go ahead and check that out. You'll be able to join us live, comment, chat, all that kind of stuff. So that's happening tonight. Should last roughly an hour. Jack Toledano's coming up momentarily. We're going to do a deep cut dive into Led Zeppelin. Tomorrow, Jack and Martin Popoff and I are going to do a deep cut dive into the catalog of Rush. Over the weekend, we've got Annie Haslam, rescheduled. Great singer from Renaissance. That's interview is happening on Saturday. What else? Hopefully later today or tomorrow, ranking the studio albums of David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, solo stuff. This weekend, Saturday, Brian Slagle's coming on the show. He and I are going to rank the studio catalog of great U.S. traditional heavy metal doom band, whatever you want to call them, Cirith Ungol. That's happening Saturday afternoon. What else? Coming up soon, probably over the next week, going to rank the catalog of the Groundhogs, great British heavy blues rock act. Jeez, what else is coming? All sorts of stuff. I'm trying to keep track of everything. It's just like so much going on. Oh, Stephen Reed is coming on the show later today. Stephen and I are going to, tonight, we are going to give our review of the brand new Kansas album. Okay. That's happening tonight as well as some other assorted tidbits that we're going to be reviewing, some other new releases. So check all that out. It's coming up in the hours and days ahead. So stay tuned. Take care. Bye-bye.